You had enough of the lies of the legacy media? So has he. You're listening to the Dennis Hendrickson Podcast.
We know the way through this pandemic is by getting everyone vaccinated. And the overwhelming majority, close to 90% of Canadians, have done exactly that. The small fringe minority.
That's crazy. You guys are warriors. You guys are troopers.
Of people who are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views that they're expressing.
Your country's in revolt. Do you know about this? Show this video. Look at this video that I sent Jamie.
This is huge. Look at my Go Forever. This is by Atchison outside of Edmonton, heading to Calgary, January 23rd.
It's a giant convoy of trucks that's apparently some insane amount of people, like 50,000 trucks, that are headed to Ottawa to protest the vaccine mandates by Trudeau.
Do not represent the views of Canadians who have been there for each other, who know that following the science and stepping up to protect each other is the best way to continue to ensure our freedoms, our rights, our values as a country.
Thank you, truckers.
Hi, my name is Gabriel. I'm from Manitoba. I'm turning 13 years old tomorrow, and I just wanted to say best birthday gift ever, having you guys fighting for us. I am so glad for you truckers. You rock.
Hi, my name is Matthew. I'm 12 years old, and I'm from Alberta, and I just want to say you guys are awesome. Keep on trucking.
Good night, truckers. Thank you. To Santa Canada, truckers.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for showing up. This is kind of an off-the-cuff deal, and just wanted to find out from those of you in Canada, hopefully maybe even at the protest itself, what's going on, because obviously we can't see anything from the mainstream media. It's been a blackout for quite a while, so I see some people are already in the chat. I'm going to do this probably for about an hour or so, depending on how many people show up, and just go from there. But yeah, I have something called Feedly, which is, I don't know how many, probably like 50 different news sources, even on the conservative side, and I can't find really any information about this protest. And as you can see, I've got a live feed going on right now. Not as big of a crowd as it was yesterday. I was a little concerned this morning because I really didn't see that many people, but they filed in over time, and it was a little bit, there were quite a few more people earlier this morning, but it seems that it's kind of thinned out a little bit. But I guess, my question to a lot of you is are you hearing, is anyone even speaking at this rally? I know there's just kind of independent little things here and there, but I was hoping that maybe could give us some feedback on what's happening. And then also, if you're watching, please do me a favor. Tell me, give me your name in the chat. Tell me where you're from, and I do want to do a couple of stories here too. But yeah, just in the chat, just let me know who you are, name, where you're from, and again, if you've heard anything related to this protest. If anyone's actually speaking in front of all of these people, what's going on, because I can't really see what's happening. But I'll go Robbie, Go Canada, Lithuania supports you. Tom, greetings from Alberta. Giver Canadian people kind. Joseph Pedjov, thank you Canada and truckers. You are my heroes for standing up. Jim Bryson, massive respect from Nova Scotia Patriots. Douglas Beaver, U.S. and Canada, excuse me, citizens are losing their basic rights, and it does need to stop. The government only focus should be to take care of its citizens and make life easier and better for all. And I agree with that 100%. It seems like, if anything, they're making our lives way more difficult. Unit Glue, I hear a convoy is heading to D.C. I haven't heard that. I do see chatter on Twitter a little bit where there are people that are doing kind of the same thing, I think, in Germany, and you might be able to confirm that for me as well. Joshua Gray, standing up for all humanity. Brother, this is truly biblical. Power outage is coming. I hope not. Francesco Mancuso, shameful in my opinion. Okay? It's a different... and by the way, overall, you know, the video that I posted, I think it's got over 300,000 views. Overwhelming majority. I'd say close to, you know, high 90s, 98% or more of people are defending this protest. As very, very small number that are against it. And I want to make myself clear related to, you know, where I stand. I'm not against the vaccines or anything like that, but what I am against is people, the mandates. And our own politicians here in America had said that, you know, it was never going to happen. We weren't going to mandate anything, and that changed. And I think that's where a lot of people are protesting, and that's why they're having issues with it. Alex Jones is Joshua Gray. Alex Jones is watching. I'm from Indianapolis. I highly doubt Alex Jones is watching me. Salistar, hello from Kitchener, Ontario. Thank you, truckers and supporters. Salistar, let me know from Ontario what's happening there. Southern Sentinel live feed YouTube. I don't know what that is, but so anyway, yeah, I've gone through all morning through all of my. I'll show it to you. This feed, just going through today, mostly football. Very few things related to the protest. Fox News has a little bit on it. And then the Neil Young story, that's a whole different thing as well with Neil Young. And it turns out that he had his entire music portfolio, I guess, already sold to Blackstone before he pulled or decided to give an ultimatum to Spotify. But I'm just not seeing anything about this at all. And except for a couple things here and there related to the Justin Trudeau being escorted to safety somewhere because apparently these people are so horribly violent that he's scared of them. It doesn't seem to me like any of these people that are here are violent at all. If anything, they're peaceful protesters, and they've just had enough with the vaccine mandates. So, Joshua Gray, mandate freedom. Paul Rancourt, thank you, truckers, love you. Francisco, people should have been protesting years ago when the right wing, Reagan, Thatcher, Maloney started shipping out all the jobs overseas. People have done nothing. Happy that they were able to buy cheap crap. Yeah, I agree. Probably a lot of things should have been dealt with a long time ago. And, maybe we wouldn't have these issues that we're dealing with now, but we, there just needs to be more protests like this, like these things that we're seeing now here in Canada. And good for Canada and good for those in Ottawa that are doing these things and bringing it to people's attention. But it's not being covered in the media. So, that's why I'm trying to do the best I can to not get shut down by even talking about this. But I noticed that the popularity from that one video that I put out there was huge. And because no one was covering it, I wanted to do something here. Salistar, mandate freedom. Heather Riggs, what's the plan? Good idea. A good question. I don't know what the plan is because I can't really tell what's going on in Ottawa right now. There's only one feed that I'm aware of that's even showing this, and I'm showing it right now. And I don't know what they're doing there. I'll go through Twitter and kind of look at some of the interviews and things that are going on, and it seems like there's a lot of kind of individual reporters that are on site that are talking to people and getting comments. Like I did see something. I actually did watch Alex Jones yesterday, and I think he'll probably be on again, where he was talking with Ezra Levant. I think a lot of people know who Ezra is, and he's down there doing reporting as well. Joshua Gray, it's a media blackout. I hear you. Salistar, MSM is done. Huge blackout for mainstream media. Yeah, it's really a shame, and I think more and more people are getting away from that. And what's frustrating is when they move to places like this on YouTube. Major legacy media companies do everything they can to try and block independent people from putting this information out, because they know that, like CNN, MSNBC, and then whatever left-wing media outlets are in Canada, they're losing viewership like crazy. So they're scrambling to do as much as they possibly can to keep our eyes or their networks in front of our eyes, even though we're saying, no, we don't want to listen to you anymore. We don't want to hear from you anymore. We're tired of you, telling us lies, and then secondly, withholding information. This right here is a really good example of withholding information from people. And to me, in some cases, it's worse than just outright lying to the viewer. And then when people make these transitions to alternative media like YouTube and Twitter and other places to actually get the information they're wanting to get, it's silenced. Even the video that I put out, which was got over 300,000 views, it was demonetized. And I didn't see anything wrong with the video. It was later, actually, after appeal, was monetized again. But it's another thing to try and discourage independent people from putting news out there. And it tells you something, that if these companies, these major billion-dollar companies, are doing this stuff, there's something definitely that they're hiding, and they also at the same time realize that they're losing their viewership, and they're doing everything they can to try and keep it. And to me, it's just not going to work. All right, let me read a couple more chats. And by the way, just so y'all know, this is, there's a lot of work involved in doing all this stuff, and I'm going to make a shameless request that if you're able to do super chats, things like that, that would be really helpful. This is something I would like to do on a more frequent basis, and in a minute I'll give you a little bit of background how I got to this point. But any support you guys can give would be great, and that'll allow me to have more time to be able to put more of this type of content out on a more regular basis. It's something I really like to do, enjoy doing, and as long as I don't get silenced and kicked off any of these platforms, I would love to to continue to do it. All right, Joshua, I'll read yours again. Klaus Schwab will be brought to the light. This protest is big. Being ignored lets us know how powerful this truly is. And I agree 100%. The more that this is silenced, the more you realize how important this is and how scared the globalists are, the elitists are, those who think they're smarter than all of us, and they can tell us what we should do, what we should take, how we should live, how much carbon we should be allowed to put out and not put out. So these are people who, I find funny. There a lot are university professors, and nothing against university professors, but I've had plenty of college credits in my life, and I've always said that vast majority of those who cannot teach, and the same goes for these elitists in Bilderberg Group and everything else. I think they're so much smarter than all of us plebes that they can tell us when and where and what we should do, and it's got to stop. Turok E. The plan is to clog the city until the government lifts the mandates. I want to talk about that for a second, because I hope that is the plan, because going back to the last chat, like, what is the plan? So Trudeau obviously has gone into hiding, according to reports, because these people are, such violent people. I mean, look at them. They're horrible. And my guess is that he's going to hide out as long as possible and not address anybody. And it's sort of like a game of chicken. So the longer he can hang out and be quiet, the more these people are going to end up, who are protesting out here, are going to say they're going to give up and go home. And I certainly hope that that's not the case. I hope that they continue to stick it out and stay and continue to protest, because the longer they wait him out, eventually, I mean, he can't stay in hiding forever. At some point, he has to address the protests. He has to address these people, and it's a large amount of people. There's not from this camera angle, there might be, I know up and down that street, there's probably a ton more people up and down that street. But I think there's hundreds of thousands, if not probably millions more, that are on the same page with these protesters that aren't there. But again, I think the longer they hang out and wait and protest, at some point, it has to be addressed. So we can only hope that the protesters continue, and of course peacefully. I'm not saying anything, no violence or anything like that, but to continue to protest and sit there and say, we'll stand here and wait all day, all night, all week, until you come out and you address the concerns that we have. And that's what the protest should be about. Pat King started Original Convoy a few years back. This is about no more government, rid of us all. I mean, I think we should have government, but I've always been the, my opinion of government is it should be a referee. It should not be telling us what to do and being involved in everything that we do. What it should be is making sure that everybody plays fair, but not getting involved in our lives. The revolution, JMac, the revolution will not be televised. Yeah, I don't know. Is it really a revolution? Again, it just seems like to me, as we're watching this live view, that the crowds are thinning out, but maybe they're going somewhere else. I don't know what's happening, but again, I hope it continues because people's voices need to be heard. Let's see, getting a lot more chats here, so bear with me. Okay. Irish, they block thousands of trucks to get into the city. Remember that. Okay. If that's true, then I can sort of understand why there are not as many people there, but Lord Benton, Viva Canada, Viva Poland. It's getting a lot of attention from other countries, that's for sure. Commies and feds in the chat, don't feed them. Yeah. It's another thing with the government being involved in that kind of stuff too. I guess that's for another discussion, but it's scary to think about, citizens, how they're being watched and tracked by the government. I mean, this is stuff from the communist days, absolutely, 100%. Sweezy, we aren't the enemy, the government is. Yep. We got this, Canada. Peggy McChiney. Oh, the main event is for tomorrow, not today, says Odessa Fire. Okay. I would figure that they would have the main. I knew I looked at something where it was talking about when an event was, and if it's tomorrow, Monday. Can anybody confirm that if the event is actually the main event is tomorrow? Captain Vanaroo thinks that they failed and they're going home now. Yes, roads are Joshua Gray. Yes, roads are blocked. I'd have you on, man, but right now I don't even know how to do it. Or I know how to do it, but it would be a whole new setup. We'll have to do that some other time. Joshua, if you're on the ground in the protest, let me know. The paid Ottawa mayor said this slowed down their economy. This is Irish. That's pretty funny. The mayor saying that it slowed down their economy. I think what's been slowing down the economy, obviously, is what's going on with the mandates. That's what's slowing down the economy. Same here in the United States. Tammy Boodle, proud of you, truckers and supporters. Some people calling it a failure. I don't think it's a failure. I think if anything, this is something that is kind of a beginning of something that needs to start happening, because let's all remember, at least from the United States standpoint, it was 2 weeks to slow the spread. And then, we're not going to have to mandate. We're not going to mandate vaccines, all this stuff. And then the next thing you know, we're here where there's passports, there's police in other countries asking for people's proof of vaccination, those types of things. And I'm going back again, to what was originally said by all the politicians, that wasn't going to happen. And, now, at least we don't have that in all the states in the United States, but And not even getting into all of the science that now is starting to come out. And again, I am not one who's against vaccines or anything like that. If anyone wants to take it, take it. The thing that I'm against, and all these people are against, is mandating and making people do it. I've had a friend that doesn't want to talk to me anymore because I'm saying, look, there's a lot of things happening and more news is coming out. And I think over time, we're going to start to find out more and more about this stuff. I think having a knee-jerk reaction and saying, hey, this is good for everybody and everybody needs to do it. Wait a minute. That'd be one thing if this, people were taking it for a long time, but, I think we have many more months and years to go before we really know what the true effects of everything are. Times are changing worldwide, says Sweezy. Yeah, I think so. I think people have had enough. And I'll say it again. If you want it, take it. It's cool. But don't make everybody else do it. That's not fair. That's not right. Some people just went for the weekend and have to go to work tomorrow. I guess we'll see what happens tomorrow. Luke Palmer, when is it supposed to end? Thanks, Jay. Smash that like button, guys. And again, super chats would be appreciated. Again, this is something I would like to continue to do. And again, for those of you that are just joining or been here, haven't been here in the beginning, this is sort of an off-the-cuff kind of live thing because, again, I didn't see anything related to this on either mainstream media. I mean, you see, really the only thing I've really seen anything is Twitter. I haven't seen anything on even Fox News or Breitbart, really anywhere. And maybe it's because tomorrow's the big day. I don't know. Yeah, of course, leftist trolls are going to say that it was a failure. Again, from the very beginning, that this whole thing got attention, a huge amount of attention, without mainstream media. So remember that. Remember that it, on my piddly little channel, had over 300, and still to this day, is still getting more views from people who are standing up and saying that they support this protest. So imagine if this was covered on all of our mainstream networks and across the globe. Imagine how popular this would be. And this is going back to what I was saying before. It's one thing to lie on the news, but it's another thing to withhold information. That could be important for people. That could save people's lives too, by the way. Adam Bomb 31458. Restaurant owners are really suffering again in the U.S. because people don't want to deal with the mask BS. So, my opinion on the mask thing, I think everybody wearing masks all the time is an issue, is a problem. I do think, though, that if you're sick, you should be wearing a mask for sure. And I wish people would have been doing this for a very long time before that, because you see how many people are going around sneezing into their hands and grabbing doorknobs, or just sneezing without even covering their mouths. And, especially people who are sick. If you're sick, and I think they've been doing this in Asia for quite a long time. If you're sick, then wear a mask, because it can stop. I don't know if anyone's ever watched any YouTube videos of somebody sneezing. It's in super slow-mo. It's the grossest thing. But the amount of stuff that comes out when you sneeze is really remarkable. So wearing a mask can help. I'm not anti-mask and any of that kind of stuff. I think there are appropriate places and appropriate times to wear it. Across the board is ridiculous. But if you're sick, then you should, number one, stay home. And if you have to go out, wear a mask. And I don't believe, Joe Creep, that masks don't work, period. I don't believe that at all. I think it does. And I'm not just talking COVID. I'm talking flu and head colds and things like that. At least for the common decency of other people. If you're sick and you have to go out, just wear a mask. But that's more along the line where I'm at on that. John Ginter, freedom for all. Roxanne Valley Bessel, stay strong. Stanislav Boyko, Russia with Canada. Francisco, man, you are just a downer. Protesting will get you nowhere ever. Come on, man. Be a little bit more positive. Patricia Toth, imagine if the news was positive about it. Yeah, and that's the other thing. It's just so much negativity about all this, and and if you look at the videos of people that are out there protesting, they're all good people. Yeah, are there going to be a few people here and there? And I did a video with I can't remember this guy's name, but everybody wants him to be the new Prime Minister of Canada. In the chat, remind me of his name, but his argument was, these protesters are being labeled by the left as extremists and racist and all this crap. And it's like, no, are you going to have a couple of people here and there that are bad people? Yeah, but then just across the board saying that that's what all these people are. It's the same old story over and over and over again, and everybody realizes it's bullshit. Francisco, JFK Jr. is appearing tomorrow from the Oblique. I've been reading his book, by the way, The Real Anthony Fauci, and I highly suggest people get that book. It's amazing how many people don't realize that book is out there, but it is very popular, and it's a very, very good book, and it will open your eyes. For those of you who are younger who don't know about the AIDS epidemic, and Anthony Fauci, by the way, was part of creating AZT and all this stuff when it came to the AIDS epidemic, and the criticism he took then is it's not surprising he's taking the criticism that he is now. Okay, guys, it just don't want me to talk about masks anymore. Okay, I won't talk about masks anymore. You guys probably know better than I do. What do I know? Relaxing frustrations. Government failed us with no hospitals. Another issue too. That I don't know if anybody watches Jimmy Dore. He's actually leftist, but his videos are incredible. All this stuff when it comes to the hospitals being overrun. As we know, originally when the COVID came out, that the hospitals were not overrun. And since the 1970s, and I did a video about this, so you can see it on the channel recently. Since the 1970s, hospital beds have been they've been being eliminated over time because it's not profitable. at least in the United States, a lot of hospitals are run by big corporations, and ICU beds are not profitable to these major corporations. So they've slowly but surely eliminated them. And don't forget, early on during this pandemic, at least in the United States, we had 2 large hospital ships, and there were tents being put up, and none of them were used. The Navy confirmed this. They were not used. And then now with the Omicron variant, we were being told that the hospitals are overrun. I haven't heard anything recently about it, because it's funny when people, I guess, stop paying attention to it. It sort of starts to kind of whittle away in the news. You don't hear that much about it, but the issue with hospital beds and ICU beds has a lot to do with the fact that these companies find it not profitable, so they've been getting rid of them. And so not having the hospital beds has been a major problem for a long time. In the 2018-2019 flu season, hospitals were legitimately overrun in the United States. Legitimately overrun. And no one talks about that. Again, this is something else that's not brought up in the mainstream media. The mainstream media at all had, any sort of credibility at all. They would say, hey, funny thing, our last horrible flu season, all of our hospitals were overrun, and doctors were treating people in the hallways and the waiting rooms, and they had to open up emergency, areas that were just for overflow. So this has happened before, but I try to use this same thing now during COVID when it actually happened during flu season. One Ziggit, this is a bunch of BS. I've had COVID and I'm old. I was over it in 3 days. Yes, it was a bad flu, but that's it. 2 weeks later, I tested positive PCR and never felt better. I had COVID, and it wasn't a walk in the park for me. It was pretty rough. Obviously, I survived it, but it wasn't fun. I just think it depends on the person. And I'm not gonna be one of those that sits there and tells you it's all, it exists and it was nasty. I think what more of us need to be upset about is where it originated, how it originated, why it was allowed to spread across the entire planet. That's what we need to be concentrating more on. But to me, it's not BS. I had it, and it's, I'm going to tell you, it was pretty bad. And depending on your body makeup or whatever, some people, not a big deal, and others, it's more of a big deal. Joshua Gray, great book by Junior. Yeah, I agree. It's a great book. Fauci literally means sickle. It's true. Crowd's still kind of thinning out a little bit. Tammy Boodle, I was at the ER. There were crickets at the height of COVID. And there were a lot of reports that were showing that, even though the mainstream media was telling you that everybody was overrun. Yeah, it's crazy. Mike, those people will not be leaving Ottawa until a change has happened. I hope so. I hope people will stand their ground and protest, again, peacefully, not violently, and say we're not going anywhere until something changes. Because from what I understand, things are really bad in Canada. Shame to read The Real Anthony Fauci by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Yep. Ben G. I've been to hospitals in Canada, U.S. Both were empty. Aliamo Safar at Mike, yes, no one voted for Justin, but yet he won. This is what I find really interesting. And here in the United States, we're guilty of it too. I just don't understand how you can vote for, how you can vote for this kind of stuff. And if people haven't learned after all of this to say, and I'm not saying the Republican Party, at least in the United States, is any better. And, everybody seems to think that the Republicans are going to win really easily the next round of elections. But I just don't understand people who can vote in this direction and allow this kind of stuff to happen. And especially when I read the comments and I read, the overwhelming majority of people can't stand this kind of stuff. And yet people still vote for it, and I just don't get it. I guess it's one of the things I'll never figure out. Oh yeah, this is also interesting, Mike. They've raised over $8 million. They aren't going anywhere. Yeah, that was an interesting story about how the leftist dirtbag scumbags over at Gofundme. I guess these guys didn't realize or didn't know that Gofundme were a bunch of jerk-offs and tried to keep their money and wanted to know where it was going to go to and all that. And they have a habit of this. And Give, Send, Go is more of a Christian kind of a deal. They don't do that kind of stuff. So which I was sort of surprised that they didn't use them, but they may not have known any better. But it was incredible to me how GoFundMe was going to try and withhold that money. But I guess there was enough resistance and pissed off enough people to where they ended up releasing that money. Shirley Gregory, they quit counting influenza cases when COVID started. Why? I bet many COVID cases reported are flu, not corona. I think that's possible. I think you're right. I did go early on. This has been a while. I did go on, I think it might have been the CDC website. It was pretty crazy to see how few flu cases there were during the height of COVID. I think especially for kids, too. Rainmaker, too. The flu could not have been, as they said, there were more doctors and nurses dancing, singing, and making videos during the pandemic. Yeah, there's I'm sure a lot of people saw on, I can't stand TikTok, of nurses dancing around. Even Saturday Night Live did a skit about it because it was so ridiculous of all these nurses dancing around making TikTok videos. Absolutely pathetic. It is cold, Mark. I'm in Florida, and it's friggin' cold right now for me. I'm probably all call me a wimp, but it is cold in Florida. I cannot even imagine how cold it is out there, and everybody's standing around. So the fact that there's even people out there standing and protesting, I think means a lot, considering how cold it is there. Jason C., the crowd is dwindling. Is it over? I don't think so. I just think, from what people are saying, tomorrow is the big day. We'll see what happens there. Ali Mad, greetings from New Jersey. We're praying for you. I'm from New Jersey originally, Ali. I'm glad I'm not there now. I'm glad I'm in Florida. Irish, Florida, the home of freedom. Yeah, our DeSantis, our governor, has been, really, really good, and I'm very lucky to be where I am in Florida. We are not having to deal with what a lot of people are having to deal with other countries and even other states in the United States. And I think a lot of people are saying that what's going to end up happening is that DeSantis could potentially be the next president of the United States. And honestly, the way things are going with Trump, I don't know how everybody feels about Trump, but I think there's probably a really good chance that that DeSantis runs for president. We'll see what happens there, but Benji, I went to Florida too during the pandemic. Very nice weather, and people were all out acting normal. Yeah, and I've heard a lot of people say who come from other areas that are really locked down that it's just weird for them to come to Florida and just watch everybody just kind of walk around without all the restrictions and the mask restrictions and all that type of stuff. So, Lloyd Nace, I lived in Florida. I know that you can feel the cold, but it's really cold here in South Dakota. For you. Yeah, I'm sure. I know. Like I said, I know it's. When I say it's cold here in Florida, it's a joke compared to what, especially where you are in South Dakota. I can't even imagine. And I grew up in New Jersey, so I do remember the snow and the cold winters and everything. How horrible it was. I don't envy you, and the Canadians too, man. It's I don't like the cold. Mike, I think Tuesday, Wednesday will be an even bigger day. I hope so. I hope it continues. I hope it continues to grow. I hope this movement continues to get bigger and more people join it, and that more people across other countries get more involved as well. Reese Boy 123, why are you running this horrible feed? It shows just the edge of the massive crowds. Because it's the only thing I can find, man. If you can find a better feed, go for it. And this is what I was saying earlier on. No one's showing this. So I think we're lucky that we even got this damn feed at all to show what's going on. And I would think there's got to be more people up and down the street. And when there was some drone footage that I saw that was showing a ton of people yesterday. There was just a ton of people up and down all around. But this is the only feed that I could find. And again, I did this kind of off the cuff this morning. I woke up. I couldn't find anything about it. And I'm like, you know what? I want to do a live feed. I know it's not an Alex Jones show or anything by any stretch of the imagination, but I wanted to get it out there and kind of hear what people had to say and sort of kind of do a off the cuff deal. Mike, Texas trucks are coming on Wednesday if they can get across the border. Well, the video that I did that had over 300,000 views and counting. So apparently this passport that's on the phone, before you even get to Border Patrol, shows up on their screen. So, what happens if they try to cross that border, Mike? I mean, are they going to do they have the same passport? Because from what I understand, you're not going to be able to get across the border unless you have the vaccination, and that, Lloyd Nace, South Dakota is a free state too. That's good. I heard something about that. I know there are other states in the United States that are similar to Florida. I mean, we have the red states and we have the blue states. The blue states are the more lockdown ones. The red ones, not as much, if at all. It's like having two separate countries within a country. Jason C. Less flu cases due to school and office closures, i.e. lockdowns. Good point, Jason. I guess my argument to that, I mean, again, a good point. My argument to that, though, is if that were the case, and why did we have so many COVID cases if the lockdowns work? I mean, if everybody had to stay home, then why did so many people get COVID? So, Logs of Varet, Honduras with you. All right, so I'm just probably going to go another 10 minutes or so, unless we come up with anything here. Yeah, going back to the phone thing. This is where I got a big issue that you have to have all of your everything's got to be on these damn phones. And I remember, I'm old enough to remember having the flip phones and the phones that didn't even have cameras on them. And now we're carrying around these basically computers that have GPS and probably soon have satellite capabilities and all these things that have all of our information on. I think it's bad. And again, these elitists, these people who think they know better than we do, are using these stupid apps to track people. And I think really in the grand scheme of things, all of this is really about what they believe is, from the elitist standpoint, of how much of all of us quote unquote useless eaters are creating all this carbon pollution. And I really think that they want us all home and locked down because they believe that we're causing, because if we're out doing our things, driving to work and going out and doing stuff, that we're creating this huge carbon plume that's going to end up ending the planet. And so they think that the more they can keep us locked down in our homes, then we're not going to be doing that. And again, these are the university professors, the Klaus Schwabs, Bilderberg Group people who think that they are more intelligent than the rest of us. And I have news for them, that they're not, number one. And there are a lot smarter people and more wealthy people that don't believe the stuff that they do. It's a shame that more of them don't come out and start spending money in order to counter these elitist assholes. But hopefully that'll start happening. But these elitists, it's funny how they really think they're smarter, and they're not. Lydia McLaughlin, papers, please. Yeah. Remember what happened in Nazi Germany, everybody. And after watching everything that's been going on, it's easier for me to understand now how Nazi Germany was able to take place, and how it was able to come about, with how many people just lay down and say, okay, yeah, sure, I'll, whatever you say, I'll do. I'll give you my passport. I'll download this app on my phone. I will comply. And again, I don't have a problem with people getting a vaccine if that's what they want to do. I'm not against it, but if there are people who don't want to get it, then they shouldn't have to. Relaxing frustrations. Everything is tracked. Yeah. And Francisco, just below that, shall we go back to the Pony Express? I think I'm kind of conflicted on this because the use of computers, I remember, again, the days old enough to know where, when I was in college is when email came out, and that's when things just started going sideways from that point on. But having just, paper files and things that just couldn't be tracked, can you think about it, things were a lot simpler back then. And people couldn't be tracked. Now, I think, we've gone too far. Medical records are digital. Everything's digital. And, what really is amazing is how many hacks there. Here's another thing that people don't talk about, and things that have been happening over the years, is how much people's personal information has been stolen because of all the electronic stuff that's not secure. We've gone way too far to the other side where there's just too much information electronic that can compromise, countries and people and everything. And it's, I know you're being sarcastic by saying Pony Express, but I'm doing all this stuff electronically and all that, but there's a price to pay. Mark Heidemann, people think they're smart because they talk with arrogance. I think, and I think it's arrogant. It's extremely arrogant. These people, the World Economic Forum, Bilderberg, Klaus Schwab, the arrogance when you watch these people, how arrogant they are. And they just think that they can literally control the entire planet, and I think they're starting to realize that that's not the case. Amy Neville, the organizers got 7 million. Somebody said 8, whatever. Take million or 2. Donations to help pay for their expenses while they're here. They are prepared to stay for a month, they said, if they have to. Okay, thanks, Amy, for that update. So I guess they're more organized than I thought. I was kind of curious what they were going to do with the money, but I'm assuming they're going to pay for hotels and different things. So again, going back to what I said before, going back to the whole original reason of putting this thing out was, I hope that they, it's just kind of a game at this point to see how long they can wait out Trudeau, because at some point, is he going to hide forever? And he's not hiding because he's afraid of these people, because these people are not people to be afraid of. And this is just with anybody, even with, Klaus Schwab, or especially Anthony Fauci. If these guys really, truly were the ones who really knew what was going on and were confident in their ideology, then they would debate others that are against them and that have a different point of view, but they don't do it. And so that tells you something in and of itself. If you're not willing to debate somebody else who disagrees with you, then you're probably full of shit. Skillet pen. As long as it's not elitist, communist, or socialist in the end, then I'll be happy. I will be too. Truth Process A, my trust in government is less than zero. And I think a lot of people feel that way. I think when Trudeau talks about a fringe minority, I think the fringe minority is actually the people who do trust the government. It's the vast majority that don't. But they're the ones who get silenced. They're the ones who get suppressed. They're the ones who don't get to see stuff on mainstream media. So it makes you think that it's that fringe minority who trust in the government that are the overwhelming amount of people, and it's not the case. Ben Rama, remember it was Justin's father who sold out our economy to the World Bank and IMF back in '74. I don't know the history of Canada, so... Douglas Beaver, I heard GoFundMe shut down the account to block access to the funds to help him out with expenses. I think they did originally, but I think all the blowback, they ended up saying they were going to release the funds. Because again, if this wasn't that popular of a movement, they probably would have stood their ground and not released it. But again, I think there's a lot more people than we realize that are supporting this. Richard Peters, do you think the coward weasel Trudeau will come out of hiding and deal with this protest? I think he's hoping that he's going to wait it out as long as he can for everybody to go home. And that's the thing. If people continue just stay there, and again, peacefully, just wait it out. He can't, I mean, I don't see how he can do that forever, but... Elizabeth Pierney, love you truckers from USA. There's a lot of support, man, from all over the United States and other countries. Pierre gave the Bank of Canada to Rothschild in 1974. Somebody asked before, who are the organizers? All I know is the spokesman I did the video on. Let me look it up real quick. Benjamin Dichter, who is on Fox. I know he's a spokesman, but I don't know if he's an organizer or not. I don't know if anyone can confirm that or not, but... Amy Neville, Trudeau is saying he had COVID exposure. That's why he had to go into isolation, being fully vaxxed and all. Yeah, and that's why people don't believe it. And again, this goes back to the vaccine itself. And why I'm confused, and I think a lot of people are confused, if you're vaccinated, what do you have to worry about? I mean, even MSNBC, Rachel Maddow, she told everybody, because she gets all the information direct from the government, that once you take it, you're not going to get COVID. Nothing's going to, that's it, done. You don't have to worry about getting COVID. You don't have to worry about spreading it. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. So what I find funny is, and sort of ironic, is Trudeau gets exposed, but he's fully vaccinated. And he has to go into quarantine. And it's like, come on, man, do you think everybody's that stupid that they don't realize really what's going on? It's so pathetic. Shirley Gregory, Trudeau now says his son has COVID. All right, I'm going to ask again. I'm going over the hour mark, and we still have the same amount of viewers, so I'll hang on longer. Do you guys see the ability to do a super chat? There should be, like, down on the chat, there's like a little $sign thing. I'm just curious. Because again, it does support the channel. It does help us create more content. And I forgot I was going to go over this. Like, I started this channel out as probably some of you have seen some of the videos, as a tennis channel. But then after what happened with Novak Djokovic in Australia is another nightmare in and of itself. I'm not I would have to say that probably Australia. And if there's anybody from Australia in here, you know, I'm sure the time is way off, but what's going on in Australia is absolutely horrible. And I think Canada and Australia are pretty similar, but I think Canada's maybe not as bad. You guys can let me know, but the Australian Open is over. That just finished. Rafael Nadal won. I'm convinced that if Djokovic actually played, he would have won, but he was kicked out of Australia. And originally, everybody said, well, he lied on his visa, this and that, which, you know, may be true, but, and then some other things with what countries he traveled to before he went to Australia, and that he tested positive on a PCR test, which is a whole different story. These PCR tests are, in my opinion, not the most accurate things in the world. And he went through 2 hearings, and he ultimately was kicked out of the country. And they said, well, because of his popularity, he would promote anti-vax sentiment. And that's the reason why they kicked him out. Not because of the visa, not because of anything else, but because of them being afraid that he might promote anti-vax sentiment. Now, he never said anything about it. He just said, I didn't take it because it's just something I don't want to do. Which, again, my opinion, he has every right to do so. But that's what got me started on this, is, you know, seems like things are getting worse when it comes to all this stuff, when it was supposed to get better. And the things that are going on, man, with Australia, I just said, you know, I have to use the channel to kind of point these things out and talk about it. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And so, you know, the more people I could get to help out, you know, super chats and things like that, the better, because then it'll allow me to continue to do this stuff. So anyway, let me know if you're able to do a super chat. If you can, please do so. That'd be great. Sylvester Casio, God used people in Canada to open the eyes for the whole world. I do hope that people's eyes are opened with what's going on, to think that it's one thing. You can't cross the border without without an app on your phone that lets Border Patrol to know ahead of time. But just imagine how far they'll take that. So it's not just going to be crossing the border. It's going to be, hey, you drove your car, you drove your truck too much. You have to stay home because you created too much carbon. You're not being a good girl or boy, and you're creating too much pollution. You're the cause of global warming. That's what I really think this is all about. Amy Neville, they told us all in the beginning, stay home for 2 weeks to flatten the curve. And here we are 2 years later. The more restrictions and more mandates incoming. Yep. I heard something, I think it might have been Alex Jones, that said the worst thing about the first 2 weeks is the first 2 years. And it's not stopping. They saw how many people just kind of lay down to all this. And now they're doubling down, tripling down. All right, now we go. Thank you, Jay. Let's see. Joshua, thank you. Lloyd Nays, who would have thought that Australia, of all countries, would have gone down this rabbit hole? Yeah, I get some people I've heard are just saying how just nice and laid back the people of Australia are, so it was just easier to kind of take control. And I don't know if some of you saw some of the videos of the police beatings and things that the Australian people have had to endure. And of course, these concentration camps that they built down there too, that they're calling, they have another name for it. But it's really scary. And I think even here in Washington State, they have one of those that are built. But and then also, you got to take into account Australia. They gave up their weapons a long time ago. So, Francisco, that's how I know you from tennis. Yeah, you're probably a subscriber originally for the tennis stuff. Viva Nadal. Okay, so sorry, Francisco, but if Djokovic played in the Australian Open, he would have won. And I get in this argument with my friends. They, Irish, Quebec is similar to Australia. Amy Neville, our CNN, your CNN is our CBC News. Okay. Well, CNN, they've lost about 90% of their viewership and it's still going down. And what I said earlier in the stream was they're doing everything they can to silence those who are on these types of media like YouTube and other places, because they know they're losing that viewership. And what I find interesting too is when you do go on YouTube, how much CNN, MSNBC, and maybe in Canada you probably have CBC that's constantly promoted. And it's like, no, I cut my cable so I don't have to watch CNN, even Fox News. Like, I'm on the internet because I don't want to watch those channels, but they continue to force feed you. Thanks, Joshua, again. This is humanity versus the global elite and their genocidal agenda 2030, the Great Reset. That's absolutely right. That's what's happening, the Great Reset. We are all useless eaters that are creating all this carbon, and we must be dealt with. And I find interesting what happened with Britain. Anybody from Britain in here, that all of a sudden now that country, and I think Denmark, I think is the other, that they're reducing the restrictions. And I think part of the reason we see that in the UK is because Boris Johnson got caught doing some partying and kind of ignoring the rules that everybody else had. And that's the other thing, the hypocrisy from all these politicians, especially in blue states in the United States, and I'm sure in others, where you have to follow all the rules, but the politicians don't. Lori Lightfoot of Chicago, Gavin Newsom of California, they're the ones that are telling you have to do all this. Gavin Newsom reminds me a lot of Trudeau. Couple of real cheese dick guys. But they can go to restaurants, they don't wear masks, they don't do any of this stuff, but everybody else has to do it, which you look at that and you go, okay, well, you know something I don't know then. Thanks, Joshua, for trying to donate. You did. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. You need to get more doing it too. Come on now. Help me out here, guys. Filet mignon, Ottawa is Zion. Research that spider statue. I don't know what that means. Filet mignon, you're making me hungry. Tucker Carlson, mixed views, but has points. I think he has some really good points. I don't like watching even Fox News anymore. I try to not watch any of that stuff anymore. So if I watch anything, it's going to be probably Tucker. But again, even all the mainstream media, even those that are allegedly right-leaning, they all kind of, they're, and again, and I haven't checked, but on this feed, I don't see anything from Fox News even talking about this stuff. And maybe they will tomorrow. If everybody that said in the chat that the big deal is next week, then great. Hopefully they'll start talking about it. Lots of love and support from Texas. Kelly McBride. Stuka Veloskov. Next variant to come is probably NATO Russia. Amy Neville, 30% voted for Trudeau, but because most seats sit in Toronto and Montreal, they dictate the outcome of our elections. Okay, Amy. That kind of makes sense. It's sort of similar to United States, where the vast majority of people, or a very large concentrated number of people, are in LA, New York City, and when it comes to our electoral college system, that's probably why, we kind of have the voting that we have now. But hopefully people have learned their lesson after this nightmare. Be Real Moore showing up. Okay. Andre Moore and the media is going bankrupt. I think they probably are. I can't imagine AT&T that owns CNN would continue to keep that going. It's got to be losing money at this point, and that AT&T is going to shut it down. I just can't imagine CNN, a company, making any money anymore with 90% of their viewers gone. I mean, if you look at Joe Rogan's podcast, he gets 11 million viewers per episode compared to what CNN gets, which is a fraction of that. I mean, he's just one guy on the internet. All right, guys, we're winding down here. Let's do some super chats. Put some super chats in there that I can read, and then we can call it a night. Joshua, I'm watching a stage with speakers. Are you there? Go to live feed on Brighton's thoughts. Let me try and find it. Brayton's thoughts. Is that the channel? Give me more information I can find. I can't find it. Mark Heidemann, they will shut down all dissension, so CNN is your only news source. I don't think that's going to happen, and I'll tell you why I believe that is because Rumble, BitChute, and by the way, if you're looking for other channels that I have are BitChute.com/Dennis Hendrickson and Rumble.com/Dennis Hendrickson. So go to those sites as well, just in case anything does happen. If you want to continue to watch, if anything happens on the YouTube channel, at least there's alternative places to go. But as we see, you have Parler, and that's parler.com/Dennis Hendrickson, and Gab, gab.com/Dennis Hendrickson. These alternative media groups that are coming about are going to be alternative when people just get sick and tired and move on. It's going to be a long time before that happens, but we're starting to see more and more of that now, and so eventually, YouTube's going to learn the hard way as well that if they continue to silence people, that they're going to be like CNN, and CNN is not going to be around. It's just not going to, they can't keep doing that. Shirley Gregory, last night I saw an announcement that Saskatchewan has dropped all of their mandates. Hopefully. Lloyd Nace, used to watch Fox News, not anymore. I get all my news I need from the internet. From people like you, Steven Crowder, Joe Rogan, and other ones that I've been looking into. I'm a huge fan of Steven Crowder. To me, Steven Crowder, he's a brilliant guy, very, very smart, and he's funny. And so the nice thing about Steven Crowder is you can listen to Steven Crowder as opposed to these other night show talk shows. That aren't funny, like Trevor Noah and whoever that dumbass that took over David Letterman, and Jimmy Fallon. None of them are funny. But then listening to somebody like Steven Crowder is great because he's really smart, has great points, and he's funny. Joe Rogan, you see all of the attacks that Joe Rogan is taking right now. He's getting absolutely lambasted by everyone because he's so popular. And he doesn't have an axe to grind with anybody. He has just a great show, long form deal, and people really enjoy it. 11 million views, and that's why they're kicking and screaming, and they're trying to attack him, but it's not going to work. Thanks, Lloyd. Please People, let's stick together. Let's not let this government win. We need to stand for our rights. Remember that united we stand, divided we fall. Couldn't have said it better myself, Lloyd. Thank you. And that's absolutely right. We have to stand united and not give up. Douglas Beaver, can't wait for Trump's Truth Social to launch. I will tell you that, I don't know. Oh, Tim Pool's another guy that I listen to. I think some of you probably know him. Tim Pool is, he had the founder of Getter on, which is another alternative. And he just absolutely wrecked this guy because, once again, they kicked off Nick Fuentes, calling him a white nationalist or whatever it was. And I don't know that much about him, but I know he's a little bit controversial, but I don't think he's what they were saying that he was. And thanks, Joshua Brighton's thoughts on YouTube channel multicam feed. All right, I'll try and find out in a second. But they are censoring people and kicking them off their platform. And apparently Trump's Truth platform is going to be doing the same thing. They have some sort of algorithm or AI that's going to, this quote unquote hate speech kind of stuff. I'm not interested in that. I'm the First Amendment type guy. And I just don't believe that any speech, obviously violent stuff, but to just kick somebody off a platform like Nick Fuentes is wrong. And Getter did that, and I immediately deleted my account right after that. And I think Trump's social is going to be the same way. I have a bad feeling about it, because what ends up happening is Getter needed funding, and they were getting it from hedge funds, and these guys, they don't want any political backlash. So they're going to say, oh, no, this, needs to be, all politically correct and all that stuff. And it's like, nah. But I will say the other alternative media like Gab, Parler, and like Rumble, it's been hard to get any sort of traction. It's, I've been relatively new on that stuff, but it's not like YouTube. Obviously YouTube's been around a really long time, so it's much easier to get traction. But then you say the wrong thing, then you get in trouble. Looks like there's some pink smoke in the crowd out there. I don't know what that's all about. Lloyd Nace, I heard that AT&T is trying to sell them off. So I did hear that AT&T was trying to find buyers for AT&T. But that was a few months ago, so I don't know. I don't know what the story is with that. If they're still for sale or what's going on. All right, we're getting more viewers, so I will. Francisco, man, you're like the negative Nancy, huh? I thought you were you're a tennis player, so I can understand your negativity. Laughing my ass off, Crowder, Rogan, yeah. They're talented guys. Well, you are a Nadal fan, so. I wish they got Pfizer to take care of the fake news. Has anyone seen that thing that Joe Rogan did or put out? All the different shows that were sponsored by Pfizer. And not only is it, the carbon footprint thing that a lot of this, I think, has to do with, the lockdowns and everything, but you always, if you scratch your head, you try to figure things out. It's always about money. And it's amazing how many people allegedly are getting paid, especially on YouTube, influencers that are getting paid by pharmaceutical companies to say certain things. Stuka Veloskov, I don't think that will happen. Seen as useful for agenda propaganda. Yeah. But if they're not getting viewers and no one's paying attention to their propaganda, and they're not profitable, they're going to sell them off because, once again, it's about money. They'll just use MSNBC, and they're trying to use YouTube now. They're trying to use alternative media to do that, and they're doing a good job of it. I watched Francisco. I watched Rogan from day one. Since the drug addict Jordan Peterson went on the first time, he has lost the plot. My man, Jordan Peterson is very smart. Very, very smart. I don't know if he's a drug addict. I don't know what happened there, but Amy Neville, your country and Canada are both experiencing inflation as they want to crush the currency, making our dollars worthless. In essence, they're trying to crush us financially. Yeah. Andre Moore and Jimmy Dore is awesome. I agree. I don't agree with everything that Jimmy Dore says, but I will say, yeah, he's got amazing points and does a really good job with his show. And those are the guys that I get a lot of my news from, because you just are not gonna get. And Jimmy Dore was the one, by the way, that talked about this whole thing with Neil Young and Spotify. Neil Young already had a deal. He already got paid $50 million from a company that was funded or had a relationship with Blackstone. And so when he said, "Oh, well, I'm going to give an ultimatum, pull Joe Rogan, or I'm going to pull my music," the guy already made the money. So it was all BS. So the money was already in his pocket. He just said, "Hey, he just used it as a political ploy." And now apparently he's going to have his own channel or show on Sirius Satellite Radio, among other things. So that guy wasn't walking away from money. He was full of shit when he did what he did. Oh, Andre Russell Brand, I forgot about him. He's really good. And he's super popular, I think, because obviously being the star that he is. But he's good. I was actually watching him this morning. Benji, Russell Brand, love him, yeah. Yep. I agree. Andre Moore and Jimmy Fallon, Kimmel, Corden are corrupt. Yeah, I forgot about Jimmy Kimmel, that son of a bitch. Yeah, all of them. Every single host, it's all political. And they all are corrupt because they're being told by the government what to say. And Joe Rogan isn't. Steven Crowder isn't. And you can see how many times he's been punished by YouTube. Steven Crowder, where he's had to go live on Rumble. And that's the thing, and he's developed a really good following. So he's able to do that and still be okay. And then I'm going to be doing the same thing. This is why the more super chats, the more you guys can, help out. I'm going to be building out the website to where we can have a membership and do essentially the same thing, because I don't think there's enough people out there doing this kind of stuff. So to be able to build out a site, have a membership site, and talk about things that I can't talk about here. So the more super chats, the more, and then in my videos, I have a link for donations that you can give through PayPal. The more you can fund, the more I can spend more time and effort and money on doing that to build it out. If obviously you like what the stuff that I'm talking about. Jill Man, go fight, win. The globalist elites are totally okay with killing us all off with the bio toys. There's nothing, I mean, nothing to lose at this point except more of our freedom. Well said, Jill. We are losing. It's amazing how we are the frogs in the boiling pot. We didn't jump into the boiling water. We've been sitting in it for a long time. And, you know, the 2 weeks turned into 2 years, and they're trying to turn it into longer because they know, they're like, hey, this works. We can control these people. And now people are starting to stand up. It's taken longer than I thought it would, but it's starting to happen, especially with Canada. So good for, you know, the Canadian truckers, good for the people of Canada for doing what they're doing. And hopefully more countries will continue to do that. Andre Moore, Rebel News are good, but need support. Yeah, this stuff isn't easy to do, and it's not cheap to do. A lot of the reason I'm able to do what I'm doing right now at this moment is because of some of the funding I got from when I was running this as a tennis channel. But I certainly didn't get as much attention as I am now. And I'm glad, because there's just a lot of people out there, especially with what's going on in the world. But come on, super chat me. Yeah, Jesha was the only one doing it. Oh, there was somebody else too, I forgot. Stuka Volskov, Trudeau will not resign. I'm sure he's going to do everything he can not to. Steve Winter, shout out to Ottawaks. That's an interesting thing. Ottawaks. Awesome coverage of this event, boots on the ground. Ottawaks. I have to check them out. Francisco was a huge Djokovic fan before this latest fiasco. I know he's kind of a dick, but I think he's kind of gotten a raw deal. Ali Mad, Justin Trudeau is just Klaus Schwab's handy tool. Yeah, I agree. Joe Rogan is, and Andre Morin, Joe Rogan is more popular than CNN. And that there's a chart that shows 11 million views per episode or so, or during a certain amount of time, and compared to CNN. CNN can't even compare to Joe Rogan, and that's why that's why Joe Rogan's being attacked like he is. Andre Morin, keep up the good work, man. I support you. Thank you. Oh, Lloyd, thank you too. You're the one who also super chatted me. Come on, more super chats, guys and girls. There's a lot of chats here, and then I just have to, if somebody really has something good to say, I can kind of pull that out. So I don't want to have any dead air time here. And it looks like our protest, there's still a few people, but it's definitely thinned out a lot. Joshua Ezra Levant is awesome. Yeah, I think he's a pretty good dude. Andre Morin, he won't have a choice to resign. Ottawaks is awesome. All right, I'll look this guy doing his Ottawaks. acid, guys? This is good. Thank you, Amy. Amy Neville, thank you. All right, somebody asked, explain your stance on the vaxes and mandates. I said earlier, I don't have a problem with people who want to take the vaccine is absolutely fine with me. And I had said earlier that I got COVID and it was bad for me for a couple of days. I mean, I didn't need to go on a ventilator. I didn't need oxygen or anything. Like my oxygen level was always like above 96, so it was fine. I think I panicked more than anything. But I have the natural immunity, which is gaining more attention now that didn't have before. And no one's talking about that, which I think is unfair. I think it's, I don't want to sound like a, lefty, but it's sort of discriminatory when you think about it. When somebody has natural immunity, why is that being ignored? That's not fair. But anyway, if you want to get the vaccine, I think that's fine. And I'm going to sit there and say that I'm anti-vax at all. I'm not. I have a problem with the mandates, though. And even our own government said that they weren't going to do that. And then all of a sudden they did. And that's the problem that I have, is making somebody do something. And like I said before, as more news starts coming out about the vaccine, of course, with this Omicron, as we all know, people are getting it anyway, whether they're vaxxed. So what's not fair is, again, if they're getting it and they're vaxxed, and why are we making people do it? Again, I don't have a problem. If you want to get it, then still get it. But to force somebody to do it isn't right. Laura Leach, has our elusive leader come out and spoken to the people he considers fringe? Is he in Ottawa or even in Canada? Apparently he's in hiding, Laura. I think he's in hiding. He's in avoidance. He's somewhere because he doesn't want to address anybody. And again, anyone who has alternative views to the establishment, the establishment is unwilling to debate them because they know they're going to lose. Andre Morin, Trudeau's the most hated guy in the world right now. Even his elite friends hate him. The funny thing is when he talks, you could just see how fake he is when he speaks. And it's just so cringy to me to watch when he talks. And other politicians that talk the same way. They put on this fake nice kind of attitude, and it's really... really pathetic to watch. Canada needs your freedom-loving truckers in the U.S. to help us. Multi-Abion says, yeah. And depending on the success of this thing in Canada, hopefully people learn, hey, especially in the blue states, filet mignon at Sunday, people are taking it easy. Yeah. Multi-Abion, this is the last chance to stand for freedom. This is a standoff. People cannot go home, and they've got to wait Trudeau out. He's got to eventually come out at some point and address everybody. Yeah, and Andre Morin makes a really good point. This protest is against mandates, not vaccines. Because everybody wants to say that, oh, you're anti-vax, you're this, you're that. Everybody wants to put a negative spin on it, and that's not what it's about. And nobody from the side, from our side, that agrees with that. It's, you have the freedom to do whatever it is you want to do. It'd be one thing if we said to people, no, you can't get it. You do what you do with your body that you want. But to force everybody else, especially with what's going on now, that we're learning over time what's happening with Omicron. And I still think there's still people out there that they don't understand that Omicron pretty much changed everything. Marianne LaRose, fear does a lot to the brain. And remember early on, CNN would put those numbers on their broadcast. And when Project Veritas did their undercover work, CNN, there's a CNN guy on there, he said, fear sells. And they said once the whole COVID thing blew over, they were going to start talking about climate change. And you notice the only two things we hear about is that. It's more climate change now. It seems like it's kind of transitioning to that. Multi Beyond, this is time to stand for freedom to choose. Amy Neville, I got COVID and double vax when I got back from the States from Christmas vacation, as half my family are American. I thought I just had allergies, sneezing, watery eyes, puffy eyes, runny nose. Laura Leach, yeah, Joe Rogan, boo, Neil. Yeah, that whole Neil thing, just the amount of orchestrated attacks on Joe Rogan simply because he's more popular than them. Instead of saying, congratulations, Joe, you just do a better job than us. They can't do that. They have to attack him and try to destroy his reputation. Okay, I have to read this. This is funny. 1800s kind of guy. One night I did a giant bong rip. 10 minutes later I forgot. Panicked and thought I was getting COVID. LOL, true story. That's funny. All right, I will go to 4 o'clock Eastern time, and then I will shut it down. So I'll make the plea again. Super chats. Hit the like button. I like to say spank the like button, and then some super chats so I can pick some stuff. There's a lot of chats in here. Help support the channel. I do appreciate that you're all here. But yeah, spank the like button, and then come on, give me some super chats here before 4 o'clock, because at some point I do have to shut it down, and then we'll definitely do this again. Lovely flight. Should the Queen say something then? Yeah, it would be nice if the Queen would say something. The Queen's not going to say anything. Nikakis Canorigios. Sorry, I'm butchering your name. Has a helicopter with Trudeau running from trucks. There's actually a meme I saw yesterday with a bunch of trucks chasing down Trudeau. Amy Neville, David Suzuki is or was a liberal, but since Trudeau got in power, he can't stand him. He says that he's a soulless, empty suit. That guy can't stand him, and he's an environmentalist. Only the Queen can fire him. Is that true? Can the Queen come in and fire Trudeau? Is that possible? Oh, Victor David Hansen. Benji, The Dying Citizen by Victor Hansen is good too. Yeah, Victor Davis Hansen is another brilliant guy that I read and listen to. He does interviews every once in a while, but he's a very, very smart guy. The Attorney General, Amy Neville says the Attorney General can fire Trudeau. I think the best thing just would be for him to address the people and probably resign. But it just does not seem to me that he has any support at all. Or he's got some. I take that back, but the vast majority of Canadians, at least from what I see, are against all this stuff. Leo Cap, this is for freedom, not politics. All right, 9 more minutes. Super chats. 9 more minutes, and I got to shut it down. Ali Matstuka, why do you think Russia's planning on war? I think this also, by the way, I think it's a sideshow. I don't think it's going to happen. I think this is something that is trying to direct our attention away. I could be wrong. Trying to direct our attention away from everything else, but I just think this is kind of a I just think it's a way to take our attention away from all the COVID stuff and everything that's going on. I think I don't believe that Russia's going to is going to go through with it, but I don't know. That's my prediction. I could be wrong. I'm sure a lot of people would probably disagree with me, but yeah, Amy Neville, there's a Taiwan issue too. One of the things that I think that Russia probably believes is that if they are going to do all that, and China as well with Taiwan, is that they believe that the United States is weak because of our current administration. So if they are, it would be because of the administration that we currently have, and that the U.S. isn't really going to do anything about it. In fact, Biden even said probably wouldn't really do that much, depending on what kind of incursion it might be. Yeah, 1800s kind of guy. Yeah, it's all about fear. Keep us wondering, well, are we going to be involved in a war? Is it like, the world going to be coming to an end again? So yeah, it's always some thing that they have to put out there to get us to constantly be scared and worried. Well, this protest is definitely thinning out a lot. But hopefully, like everybody said, it will continue into next week, hopefully. Yes, true, Benji. Ukraine is a huge strategic point for pipelines. It's funny, when we had Trump in office, we had, we didn't have an issue with energy, and now look at our gas prices. Jacek Kutula, greetings from Poland, Canada, don't give up. A lot of support from other countries. And if anyone can confirm, I think a lot of this stuff is happening in Germany too. Austria, oh my, Austria is a freaking nightmare. I read that they're fining people for not being vaccinated, like a ridiculous amount of money too. That's insane to me. That you can fine your citizens. Oh, and then in Canada too, Ruben, peace from the UK. That in Canada that you can't, then some, like at least in Walmart, if you're not vaccinated, you have to be accompanied by a store employee, and you can only go in for groceries or something to that effect. Jan Jansen, love from the Netherlands. Yeah, Francisco, gas prices, inflation are up worldwide, but he did shut down the Keystone Pipeline. And, you know, this endless printing of money causes inflation. I'm not saying, I don't think anyone's saying it's actually Biden himself, but it's Fed policy and, yeah, and constant printing of money that causes inflation. So Curtis is asking me how much money I want. I don't know if you're talking to me. Don't look confused. I don't know. Whatever you want to give me, Curtis. I'm not greedy. Sean Armstrong, white hats are in control. All this and we all will be free. Marion LaRose, sorry, I'm 62 and don't have a lot of money, and I've been going through hell the past 2 years. I want the government to be held accountable. Well, hopefully, you know, it's the voters that need to hold our politicians accountable by not voting in a certain direction and doing more of these protests like the Canadians are doing. All right, 3 more minutes. Ken Giroux, we need Trump to run Canada. Marianne LaRose, all the printing of money by Trudeau could have helped the hospitals in Canada. And this is probably going, you know, a lot of money printing from a lot of governments. And this is the result of it. Is inflation and energy prices, things like that. So, yeah, I'm not an expert in all that, but you know, there's still a lot of money that's going around in the system right now, and there's so many jobs that can be filled that people aren't going into because of all the printing and the giving away of money. And so at some point, you know, we're going to have issues that we have right now because of all the printing of money. And, you know, yeah, 1800s guy kind of guy. Canada and USA could be self-sufficient with oil and gas if our government would step out of it. Yeah, we could be energy independent, and I think we were more with Trump. And, you know, I can sit there and tell you I'm a huge Trump fan. But yeah, I think we were more energy independent then. Stuka Veloskov, I don't think Trump will come back. I don't know. Like I said, I think somebody like who's probably less, I don't want to say divisive, but somebody who could give him a run for his money would be DeSantis. Benji, Jordan Peterson for Prime Minister. Vegas girl, Trump is POS too. He fast-tracked the vax. It still pushes it. Yeah. I mean, we all seem to forget that it all originated from this fast tracking of the vaccine. So, it's Trump has to kind of take a little bit of the blame for some of the stuff here. Because it was funny is when he was still in office, how many people said, "Oh, I'll never take it because Trump created it, or it was through Trump." And then after he's out of office, then all of a sudden it's, the best thing. And I'll tell you, I don't know, man, about Trump now. Thank you, Lloyd. I'm an independent, and I trust neither one of the parties. A little revolution is a good thing every now and then. I stand and fight against the tyranny. That's a good point, Lloyd, because even if, at least I'm speaking for the United States, if the Republicans sweep, I don't think they're going to do anything. I don't think they're going to make any changes. And it's a uniparty now. I think it's just all pretty much work together. They don't do anything. Maybe less mandates, possibly. But there's just nobody that really stands out. I think DeSantis is really the only one, because here in Florida, he's the only one that's really going out and saying something, and doing something, with the mandates. Yeah, warp speed. That's right. Warp speed. I forgot. I couldn't remember what that was. Horse paced. That was another one. Media trying to tell everybody that I had a friend who's really, really smart, and my own mother that thought ivermectin was only horse paste. I had no idea that ivermectin was made for human use and that it had been prescribed billions of times with a B and was used, has been used for many, many years. And it was really kind of remarkable to me how how many people, and I even think to this day, people probably just think that ivermectin is purely horse-based, and that's it. It's really funny, and it's just crazy how the media can spin something and get people to believe it. And I'm sure there's, it's nuts. All right. Guys, I'm going to have to end the stream. Actually went over an hour longer than I thought it was going to be, which is great. Thank you so much, all of you that are here. And I will do this every Sunday and then see if maybe even during the week at some point too. So be sure you hit the like button. Be sure that if you're not subscribed to this channel, be sure that you do it now. And again, I appreciate you all being here. Have a good rest of your Sunday, and let's support Canada. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for being here.